The span and scope of what we use e-commerce for in hospitality businesses is quite diverse. The reality of it is whether we're doing B2E, B2B, B2C, we really today, as 2015 compared to where we were in the 1960s, e-commerce really is the span and scope of it is quite large. We use it in operations, we use it in accounting and finance, MIS, HR, marketing. We'll spend a lot of time talking about how we used e-commerce with our human resources function in a couple weeks, but the size and scope is tremendous. MIS, all the hardware, software, and application programs that used to convert data in our operation into usable information. From a marketing standpoint, really this is where the company begins to identify who they are as a brand and what the product is they're offering to their customer. And e-commerce systems really allow companies to do that. It allows companies to price, place, promote their products, and really the reach becomes almost endless. It allows them through the internet to reach customers all over the world. And what we found is today how companies use e-commerce from a marketing perspective really allows the company to give themselves a competitive advantage when compared to their competition. One of the most common things that we see today with hotels was something that was actually started by Starwood, the hotel virtual tour. Today you can log into a hotel website, see what the actual room you're going to stay in looks like, see what the cabin on a cruise ship might look like, see what the restaurant where you're going to have dinner might look like. So really what's happening is that e-commerce is becoming a tool that allows us to promote our products much better. From an accounting and finance perspective, the e-commerce, this has become the new norm. The idea that we get paper bills and we pay bills, our accounts payable with check, and we receive checks is no longer the case. From credit card transactions to direct deposits to paying of vendors, getting invoices from vendors, really e-commerce and using technology has really become the new norm in accounting and finance transactions, not just in hospitality businesses, but really in business as a whole. The majority of all the accounting transactions that we have today are done through private networks, intranets. In some cases, we have an extranet, and also for an accounting and finance function really handling, in some cases, using the internet, allowing customers to actually see and make transactions there. But with this kind of adoption of technology really has come some issues related to privacy. We look at companies like Target, Home Depot. There just came out in the news today that hackers had actually broke into a large health insurance company this week. When we conduct accounting transactions online, there's a lot of sensitive information that companies have that can be, if a data breach occurs, can get into the wrong hands. And there's also a kind of an issue of trust that exists here. Customers are happy to conduct transactions, conduct commerce electronically, but they have an expectation that companies are going to be able to keep their data safe. And the moment that a company kind of breaks that trust, all of a sudden they start to lose their competitive advantage. Imagine what would happen if there was a breach at, let's say, American Airlines or United Airlines, and all of a sudden customer payment information, credit card information, particulars got out to the public. All of a sudden, United Airlines has trouble managing the booking function, and that's where they get a significant amount of their bookings is through e-commerce. So the security issues surrounding this are absolutely paramount. And what you hope is that companies who do accounting function e-commerce through electronically have some sort of secure electronic system. If they collect payments from customers such as credit card, PayPal, things like that, maybe even Bitcoin, they want to make sure that there's a secure electronic payment system to really protect from what we call network sniffers. And what network sniffers are basically, it's the mechanism by which people can break into a network, a private network, and try to find very sensitive customer information. Operations, and by operations, really when we talk about e-commerce, this isn't just dealing with the day-to-day operation of the business, but this is also managing the interactions that you have with vendors. If a restaurant, for example, starts running low on a particular food item, how do they actually go about requisitioning that? We see that all being done now through e-commerce transactions. In the PowerPoint, you'll see a video link here. You see it on this slide right here, and in the master slide, you can click on it for something called electronic data interaction. And what this is really doing is this is becoming the new norm in how we do e-commerce to manage the operations of our business. Through EDI, we're able to manage inventory, create and submit purchase orders, send out invoices and receive invoices from vendors, pay accounts, settle accounts, receive payment on accounts. And really, there are some vendors out there that have provided really, really sophisticated EDI networks to help businesses operate. The alternative, you don't have to have an EDI. You don't have to conduct a lot of those transactions electronically, but the alternative is paper systems that are extremely inefficient, take much more time, and unfortunately are highly error prone. So we really like electronic data interchanges, the ability to automatically see if an inventory needs to be replaced. The hotel industry has started to adopt very, very similar practices. For example, a lot of minibars in hotel rooms now actually automatically tell the minibar department if it needs to be restocked. You might have seen hotels where you pick up a can of soda or a beverage from the minibar, and there's a little laser sensor right under the can, and the second you pick that up, it automatically charges the guest folio. This is a perfect example of electronic data interchange. It tells the front office what to charge the guest. It tells the food and beverage division what was consumed. It tells the minibar department or the housekeeping department that that needs to be replaced. So using EDI and e-commerce can really make your operation much more efficient. From a human resources standpoint, what we're seeing is that technology is helping us manage all functions of the human resource process. And by the human resource process, I mean everything from recruitment, actually writing job analysis and doing a job design. We can use electronic technology to help us with that. But recruitment, so convincing people that they need to apply for a job within our organization. Selection, so based on the applicant pool you have, trying to find the person that you can predict is going to be the most successful. Training and development, managing employee performance. All this can be done through e-commerce. In this case, it might be B to E or B to C communication, depending on what the human resource function was. We can also use it outside of this to communicate with employees posting jobs. And what's really interesting, the Facebook group and the YouTube video that you see here will talk about a different level of e-communication that's starting to exist. Employee to employee communication. We talked a little bit about customer to customer communication, but I think we're getting into a realm now where employees are actually using these platforms to communicate with each other. This video talks about an individual who quit his job, posted the video on YouTube of him quitting, but then what he did is he found out a way he created a platform for employees to share their experience working for a particular company. There's a website called Glassdoor out there that does something similar, but traditionally the people that post on Glassdoor are no longer employees. So incorporating e-commerce into the human resource function has really opened up a new realm of possibility, E to E communication. The lodging sector is really one of the dominant sectors of hospitality that uses e-commerce to manage their operations. This doesn't mean that other sectors of hospitality don't use it. For example, transportation, airlines, cruise industry, the the rail system completely dominated by e-commerce transactions. But if we look at kind of the core hospitality segments, meeting and events, food and beverage, lodging is really the one that dominates the use of e-commerce. Most of their transactions, though, most of the e-commerce transactions that do occur are B2C, business to customer transactions. And what these transactions are focusing on is product and service awareness. So this is our hotel, this is where it's located, this is what it looks like. But also there's a second part to that. The lodging industry doesn't just use it for product and service awareness. What they also do is they try to have a call to action in their e-commerce transactions. And the call to action is book. The call to action is make a reservation. The call to action is when you've looked at all the different hotel options out there or resort options out there, choose us, book with us. We can make that process very, very seamless. There are other intermediaries that kind of pop up in this process. We're no longer looking at a scenario where it's just a business, a hotel, interacting with the customer. Quite often you have brokers, the Expedia, the Hotels.com of the world, who really are acting as intermediaries, and they're great resources for the hotel because they give a much larger reach. They increase the marketing muscle of a particular hotel, and it's a great resource for hotels to really maximize their inventory, to make sure that they're putting as many heads in beds on any given night. Without those intermediaries like the Orbitz, the Expedia, the Hotels.com, the Travelocities of the world, hotels would have a really difficult time filling up their room inventory on any night. But e-commerce in the lodging industry is absolutely dominant. We do see it in travel and food service. Food service uses it in a very similar fashion than the lodging industry does, in the sense of product and pricing, kind of brand awareness. There's also a call to action, but traditionally that call to action is making a reservation for a table, not necessarily a monetary transaction where you put in your credit card information, preference information. We do see some examples of there actually being a much more in-depth interaction or transaction occurring. Maybe you place your order on something like Grubhub. Chipotle allows you to order your food in advance, but we don't see it anywhere near the level that we do in the lodging industry. Travel organizations also use it, as I mentioned, rail, cruise, airline. We use it just like the lodging industry. We use it for product and brand awareness, but really what we're doing is we use these sites. They're somewhat limited. When you look at an airline site, when you look at a cruise site, they're much more limited in terms of their offerings on the website. What those are really designed for is ease in booking. Travel organizations, airlines, cruise lines, rail, they really just want to make the booking process as easy as possible. Where restaurants and food service businesses and lodging businesses, it's kind of a mixture. Yes, they do want customers to book, but what they're really trying to do is put as much information out there about the brand, about the hotel, about the restaurant. The assumption is that when people make transactions on an airline site, they already have a pretty good idea about the airline. What they're really looking for is best rate or best airfare. They're looking for the times that they need, the dates they want from destination A to B, and the ease in the booking process.